Obtain the mother nest of the insect race, hatch a sea of billions of insects, and horizontally promote the entire cultivation world. Yihan has done many things in his life. He once defeated 1,000,000 corpses in Blackwater Pond, and with his own strength, an endless swarm of insects destroyed the 10 demon sects of the Copper Armor Mountain. And was awarded the title of Immortal Insect Lord. He also once killed the North Sea Demon Court with one sword in the Great U Dynasty, and beheaded 10 Mou Dragon Kings with his life. His blood spilled into the sky. He was awarded the title of Dragon-Slaying Immortal. Drinking and drinking, he also transformed into an ordinary drinker in his leisure time, listening to music and books in the Mortal Tavern, enjoying a moment of peace. When that day arrives, the sky is full of calamity energy for 30,000 miles, and thunder envelopes half a life. Shocking the world. Yihan also faced his own immortal calamity. He looked up. Behind it is a sea of corpses and blood, like an endless sea of insects roaring in the sky, like the scene of the 18 layers of purgatory, with a fierce sense of war. Yihan's palm lightly rested on the hilt of the sword, and he only wished to cut through this annoying cloud of smoke with one sword. Immortal calamity. Thunderstorm. Is that all? Keywords of the novel. Chongqing starts from controlling the Zerg without pop-ups, Chongqing starts from controlling the Zerg with full download of TXT, Chongqing starts from controlling the Zerg with the latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Fatal Crisis, activate the Zerg system. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Fatal Crisis, activate the Zerg system. The sky was like a big hole leaking, with heavy rain pouring down. Droplets of rain, forming a string of beads, fell from the roof tiles, creating a rain curtain that turned Yihan's small shed entrance into a water curtain hole. Inside the house, some areas on the roof are even damaged and leaking rain. The rain was too heavy, causing several inches of rainwater to accumulate on the floor of the entire small shed, forming a small ocean. At this moment, Yihan, as the owner of the shack, cannot pay attention to these things. He is in great pain. At least 5 ribs were broken on the body, and the chest and abdomen were covered in bloodstains stained red. Yihan was seriously injured. The 5 broken ribs are second to none, and the most serious one is the huge penetrating injury on the stomach. This is a sword wound. This is a terrifying injury left by Yihan's fierce battle with the cultivator, Fenglingzi, in the middle of Qi cultivation half a day ago when he was hit by a flying sword technique from the opponent, which penetrated his abdomen. This sword not only penetrated Yihan's abdomen, but also shattered some of his organs. If it weren't for Yihan's tenacity, and not long ago, he coincidentally obtained a top-grade healing medicine called EP1-10 that barely managed to hang his life, he would probably have died of suffocation by now. Fenglingzi, Yihan, have recorded today's grudge. The piercing pain and weakness hit Yihan's heart, making him extremely resentful of Fenglingzi, who had caused such a fatal injury to him. The two have only met once. I didn't intentionally offend him either. I was just overjoyed when I saw a secret technique for royal beasts at a stall in the local market, and wanted to buy it. I was taken away by the wind spirit Z with a horizontal thrust, and I was just angry. I only slightly increased the price and competed for it twice, and surprisingly, I was completely hated by the wind spirit Z. Out of the neighborhood, he actually transformed into a robber cultivator and wanted to put himself to death. If it weren't for the years that Yihan has traveled through and deliberately cultivated an excellent secret technique for escaping life after embarking on the path of cultivation, I'm afraid the body would have already cooled down by now. Damn it. I am still too weak. If my strength is strong enough, and I am also a mid-stage cultivator of Qi refining, not the initial stage of Qi cultivation in the current 3 levels. Even if the wind spirit child is in a hurry and wants to transform into a robber to cultivate me, he still needs to weigh and consider. If I had a late-stage cultivation of Qi, then Fenglingzi wouldn't even dare to compete with me for that beast control secret technique. Too weak. Still too weak. Yihan murmured to himself, waves of pain on his body constantly stimulating him, making him increasingly angry. Why? Yihan is unwilling. Why do the protagonists in novels, who are also travelers, often quickly awaken their golden fingers and take off in life like a hanging car? And what about myself? Even if one has already embarked on the path of cultivating immortals and left the world of billions of mortals, yet still struggles to survive in this stinky mud ditch. Even if you just want to buy something you love, and still have to be snatched or robbed. Why is it that the self, who is also a time traveler, has no cheats and even the cultivation qualification is just a lowly beast spirit root? Inferior beast spirit root. Even the immortal cultivation family and sect are not willing to accept their entry walls, so they can only wander in the lowest level of the immortal cultivation market, and do scattered cultivation as low as dust in the dirty and messy shantytowns of the market. In terms of cultivation, I have traveled through this 5 years. In the first year, he planned to enter the cultivation world, but starting from the second year, he barely obtained a major skill in the cultivation world called Changchunju, which even did not match his own inferior beast spirit root. Fortunately, the inferior beast spirit roots are not like those 5-element spirit roots. There is no taboo in cultivating. The Changchunju, which can cultivate the wood attribute, has also allowed Yihan to embark on the path of cultivation. But it's just stepping onto the path of cultivation. For the next 4 years, I will diligently practice for more than 5 hours every day, and the remaining time will be spent as a spiritual farmer to earn meager spiritual stones for my current main family, the Chuanshui by family, in Baichunfang City. In the past 4 years, not a single day has dared to slack off, but 4 years have passed, and with the spiritual blessing of the first-level spiritual gathering formation in the shantytown of Fangshi. Occasionally, he also takes some inferior first-level pills to assist in cultivation, and Yihan can break through his cultivation to the 3rd level of the qi refining stage. It is still in the early stage of qi cultivation. This qualification speed it's too slow. If those family disciples can enter the 5th level or above of the qi refining period in at least 4 years, right? Cowardly people may even go to the later stage of qi refining, which is the 7th level of qi refining. Yihan felt despair in his heart. I just want to cultivate and seek immortality, not to become an immortal or an ancestor, but to live for tens or even hundreds of years longer than ordinary mortals. Why is it so difficult? Not long ago, he had just entered the 3rd level of the qi refining period and even felt that the magic he could convert through meditation was gradually coming to a halt. If he continues in this state, he will break through the bottleneck between the 3rd and 4th layers of the qi refining period and enter the middle stage of qi refining. I'm afraid this step will become a huge shackle, tightly binding himself. I don't know how many years to waste. Foam Lingzi. Foam Lingzi will definitely not let me go of his practice path like this. I have to leave Baichunfang City and find a place to hide. Yihan felt a severe pain in his chest and abdomen, but his heart was like a basin of cold water pouring down, making him shiver from the spiritual cover above his head to the bottom of his feet. Returning to the shantytown of Fangshi is not absolutely safe. Although there are patrol teams in the Kawasui by family to maintain the daily safety of the neighborhood, the shantytowns are strictly considered. Not the internal areas of the neighborhood. Most of them are rubbing against the edge of the neighborhood, seeking a certain degree of protection under the banner of the Kawasui by family. There is no protection from the Fangshi Dajin here. Even though most of the people living in the shantytowns are spiritual farmers from the Kawasui by family, they may receive some care and protection from patrol teams due to their help in planting crops such as rice. But this kind of protection is very limited. At night, there are occasional raids and repairs that invade shantytowns, taking the lives of some of their residents. One of Yihan's former neighbors, Zhou Li, had his head taken away by a bandit who had invaded a shantytown. My identity is easily identifiable. With the mid-stage strength of Foam Lingzi's qi refining, it is easy to know my specific location in the shantytown of Baichunfang City. I have to rush out of here in the face of this heavy rain in order to have a glimmer of vitality. Yihan twisted his teeth in pain. Due to the serious injury, he also had a high fever and his mind was extremely dull. His eyelids were so heavy that he could hardly open them. He only has 3 levels of strength during his chi refining period. Although his body is much stronger than that of ordinary people, at most it is comparable to the physique of ordinary martial arts experts. Having suffered such a serious injury, the aftermath of the outbreak of the injury is now being sought after one after another, which is like adding insult to injury. Escape. Where to escape? Will Feng Lingzi be waiting for me outside the neighborhood now? Yihan pondered with a severe headache. Even the escape plan was filled with despair. It seems that there is no way to survive in heaven and earth. Just a cultivator who has elevated himself to a small level, he is enveloped like a web of heaven and earth, suffocating himself and having almost no way to survive. Ding! The host has been detected to be in great danger, and the energy absorbed by the system has reached the minimum activation limit. Congratulations, the Zerg system has been activated. A nest space has unfolded and is teleporting hosts into the nest space. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Zerg Mother Nest. Strengthen your body. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Zerg Mother Nest. Strengthen your body. System. Yihan was stunned, and a voice like a heavenly melody echoed in his mind, causing him to temporarily forget the extreme pain on his body. Subsequently, a huge suction force struck. A whirl of heaven and earth. When Yihan opened his eyes again, he found himself in a vast and unknown space, separated by a huge white smoke wall at the far end of the sky. The vast space is like a cage country built with white smoke walls, and the ground that makes up the cage china is filled with densely packed towering ancient trees, making it an incredibly vast primitive forest. There are also some low mountains, streams, and lakes in the forest. But it was incredibly quiet. Quietly. I can't even hear the squeaking and screaming of a cricket. This is a forest with only plants and no animals, already dead. A thought came to Yihan's mind. Roaming and rumbling suddenly, the forest beneath my feet cracked open. Yihan's eyes widened and he also saw a scene that shocked him. Under the cracked ground of the forest, a massive flesh and blood building with a height of 30 meters and a diameter of 100 meters emerged from the ground. The flesh and blood building was like a honeycomb structure, with some black gun barrels extending from the outer walls and top areas. When Yihan saw those gun barrels made of flesh and blood keratin, he also felt a tingling sensation on his scalp, constantly alerting him as if he had encountered a huge crisis. Obviously, those barrel-like things are not decorations. The honeycomb-like flesh and blood building quickly crawled out of the ground, and below it, a purple flesh and blood mushroom blanket spread deep into the forest. That layer of mushroom blanket seems to be filled with extremely strong corrosiveness. When it spreads to the shrubs, vegetation, and even towering ancient trees that can only be embraced by several adult men in the forest. These plants all wither along, even their roots seem to have been decayed and melted in a short period of time. So the bushes rolled up their bellies, and the towering ancient trees also toppled down. The rumbling sound of ancient trees falling in the forest kept ringing, and the ground trembled as if a small earthquake had occurred. If standing on the ground, even the continuous vibrations can make one's feet numb. Yihan drifted in mid-air, lifted by some strange force. The honeycomb flesh and blood building on the ground, from its appearance to its complete unfolding, may seem slow, but in reality, it only happened within a few seconds. When it completely emerges from the ground. While in the honeycomb flesh and blood building, there was also a flesh and blood tentacle that rushed up into the sky, and then directly wrapped him up under Yihan's surprised gaze. Yihan suffered severe pain all over, and his body was extremely weak, unable to resist. But by a stroke of fate, Yihan was not worried. Surrounded by flesh and blood tentacles, Yihan didn't feel uncomfortable, and could even feel the carefulness and gentleness of the flesh and blood tentacles. As if it was afraid of hurting itself. At this moment, Yi-Han also felt as if he had become a newborn baby, returning to the mother and fetus. Blood and flesh tentacles with leaf cold retracted into the interior of the honeycomb building. Yi-Han also felt like he was in a very high energy concentration fetal membrane, with a large amount of pale golden liquid surging in, soaking his body. Hiss, Yi-Han opened his eyes in surprise. Unexpectedly, Yi-Han noticed that as the pale golden liquid enveloped his body, the intense pain in his chest and abdomen was rapidly easing. He lowered his head and looked down. He tore open his bloody clothes and only saw a huge sword wound in his abdomen, where a large number of granulation sprouted rapidly. The wound was healing at a visible speed to the naked eye. The broken ribs in his chest also seemed to have abnormal movements. Upon scanning inside, Yi-Han immediately noticed that all 5 of his broken ribs were automatically aligned and healed under invisible force. The dying injury, surprisingly, recovered as before in the blink of an eye. There are no scars left on the skin, and the area where the huge wound was originally located is now only white. This is not over yet. Yi-Han was pleasantly surprised to find that the pale golden liquid that enveloped him seemed to be continuously washing his body. He could feel that at every moment, some pale golden liquid was being sucked into his body, devoured by his own cells. And his body was rapidly becoming stronger. Even the mysterious and inferior beast spirit root inside Yi-Han felt as if it was strengthening. Buzzing, always getting stronger. This comfortable feeling almost made Yi-Han lose himself. At the same time, there was also a feeling of exhaustion like mountains and seas, making Yi-Han's eyelids even heavier. Unconsciously, Yi-Han fell asleep. Fall into tranquility like a baby. During this process, those pale golden liquids, like diligent bees, continued to strengthen Yi-Han's body and improve his genetic structure. In his mind, some massive information knowledge that does not belong to Yi-Han's memory also descended. Infused into Yi-Han's brain like inheritance. Those are knowledge information about the Zerg race, the pinnacle of the universe's biological civilization, and one of the 4 major natural disasters of the race. Yi-Han had a dream. Dreamed that he was in charge of a Mother Nest base of the Zerg civilization, the pinnacle of the universe, and transformed into the master of a Zerg community. In a dream. The Zerg are formidable and invincible. A picture naturally came to Yi-Han's mind. On a lonely and desolate planet, a meteorite fell from the cosmic sky, followed by a shocking explosion, and then some huge and powerful ferocious insects and beasts emerged from the explosion pit. 1, 2, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, a million. Until billions, endless. The sea of insects descended upon the planet, like a vast ocean covering every inch of land. They gnaw on rocks, metals, and all substances that can be ingested into their bodies. On the earth, a blanket of insect purple fleshy fungi was also spread out, quickly enveloping the surface of the entire lonely planet, then wriggling and digesting. In the end, the entire planet was devoured and digested by a race called the Zerg. There are also more terrifying insect seas in the universe's starry sky, with countless giant and peculiar Zerg creatures like spaceships crossing the void with their flesh bodies, killing the next planet like locusts in the starry sky. Taking stars, sun, and moon as eclipses, it evolves infinitely and its quantity is terrifying to trillions. Keep moving forward, fearless of death, unstoppable. Yi-Han opened his eyes. The pain on my body is no longer there. Extremely energetic. The vitality in the body seems to have increased several times, as if returning to adolescence. He woke up from a soft bed simulated from white biomass, covered in a white biomass simulated blanket. Looking at the room walls surrounded by biological flesh and blood, with a hint of science fiction, Yi-Han couldn't help but take a breath and show a long-lost smile. Originally, I really mastered a Zerg tribe. It's not a dream. Yi-Han clenched his fist. A glimmer of hope erupted in his eyes that had never been seen since his time traveling. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Male Insects, Raptors, Hydras. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Male Insects, Raptors, Hydras. To the north of Baichunfang City, it is a shantytown. Heavy rain poured down on the earth. Wow! Shili Li. As if the sky had collapsed, countless raindrops poured down like the water of the Milky Way, causing many parts of the shantytown below to be submerged, almost turning into a vast ocean. Some lower-level cultivators also tug at their magic decisions, and in the midst of their power oscillations, they prop up spiritual auras and light shields, bouncing away all the annoying rainwater from the outside world and evaporating it. Soon, the falling rain continued to hit, as if it were endless. The lower-level cultivators do not have sufficient mana, and during this round of pulling, some rainwater also infiltrates the spiritual aura and light shield, wetting their clothes slightly. Many people secretly curse misfortune and return from outside, burrowing into their own shantytowns. The sky is gradually getting dark. After nightfall, the shantytown of Baichunfang City was even more uninhabited, seeming to have become a forbidden place for all living beings. Everything has become quiet. Pop. Pop. Suddenly, footsteps sounded. At this point, the rain had already subsided and became strands of water droplets falling onto the ground puddle. The footsteps trampled on the pool, splashing water and making a crisp sound in the quiet and pitch-black shantytown. The owner of the footsteps is a middle-aged cold-faced man wearing a white long shirt and a wide coat with gold stripes on the cuffs. If Yi Han were here, he would definitely be able to recognize this person at a glance. This is exactly what Yi Han hates to the bone, the mid-stage cultivator of qi refining who severely injured him and was dying. Feng Lingzi. Quickly, Feng Lingzi, dressed in a white shirt, arrived at the edge of a dilapidated shack. Yi Han, the spiritual farmer of the Bai family's made in Chuanshui. Not bad, as a small spiritual farmer in the early stage of qi cultivation, you were able to escape from a sword light that I casually used up. Unfortunately, your good luck has run out. Feng Lingzi spoke softly, as if speaking to others, as if just talking to herself. Crunching, Feng Lingzi gently pushed open the shed door in front of her. The dilapidated old wooden door immediately made a creaking sound. Feng Lingzi frowned and her smiling face immediately turned cold. After pushing open the door, he could see clearly that there was no one inside the shed, only some bloody smell still lingering in the air. Did you run away? Feng Lingzi's expression was gloomy, and then he sneered contemptuously. This little spiritual farmer cannot run away. The city of Baichunfang is just a little big, and I saw him escape into a shantytown with my own eyes. I have already set up surveillance measures around him. In the early stages of practicing qi, the cultivator was seriously injured. It's impossible to escape. It seems like they're hiding. Feng Lingzi thought of this and a cat and mouse-like smile spread across her lips. Hide. I see how long you can avoid dragging your seriously injured body. Let me wait for you for a moment. Feng Lingzi sneered and pinched Fa Ju in her hand. Wow! There was a surge of magical power, and in an instant, the figure of Feng Lingzi, dressed in a white shirt, became transparent from the air and quietly hibernated. The wall composed of white smoke columns blocks the sky and covers the distant end of the sky in all directions. In the center of the insect nest space, there is an open space surrounded by countless towering ancient trees. Yi Han, who had recovered from his injuries, had already walked out of his mother's nest base. He looked up and also looked at the tall mother nest main base in front of him. This is a flesh and blood building like a giant skyscraper. Based on the vast amount of knowledge and information imparted by the system in his sleep, Yi Han has also gained a certain understanding of this mother nest base. The Mother Nest base in front of us stores a large amount of biotechnology information about the Zerg civilization, as well as genetic information of various Zerg troops from low to high levels. The Insect Mother Nest has just hatched and is only a first-level base. The first-level base can incubate 3 of the most basic Zerg troops. Male insects. Velociraptor. Hydra. Male insects are responsible for collecting energy. It can be considered as the engineering unit of the first-level Mother Nest main base and the cornerstone unit of the insect nest, which is a very important component. Raptors and Hydras are combat units. Mainly used for external wars. Raptors belong to melee units, while Hydras belong to ranged units. The main base of the first-level Mother Nest is not complex, and its composition is relatively simple. In addition to 3 types of Zerg troops, it can also build a biological building called a transformation pool. And the transformation pool can allow male insects to invest the collected resources and use its building characteristics to crush materials and extract energy. The extracted energy is naturally used for the daily operation of the Mother Nest main base and the incubation of troops. Building a transformation pool requires energy, as does hatching males, velociraptors, and venomous snakes. I just don't know how much energy is currently stored in the main base of the Mother Nest. How much energy is needed for the incubation and transformation pool, as well as the 3 types of insect soldiers. Many thoughts flashed through Yihan's mind and he also spoke. System, open the insect nest interface. I want to see the energy reserves currently available in the main base of the Mother Nest, as well as the energy requirements required for various insect soldiers to hatch. Okay, Master. The system responded respectfully. After a moment, a virtual light screen also appeared in front of Yihan's eyes. The screen also displayed various information about the Mother Nest base. Current base energy reserve. Basic energy. 500 points. Insect Mother Nest. Insect-based biological buildings, level. First level base, power index. 500 larvae yield. 1000 per day, function. Zerg Information Library, storing all technological information and biological gene information of the Zerg civilization. Currently, only a very small amount of technological information is unlocked. With the increase of base level, more technologically advanced knowledge and stronger insect soldier gene information will be unlocked. The upgrade of the second-level Mother Nest main base requires 3000 basic energy points and 100 larvae. Conversion pool. Zerg resource biological buildings, function. It can engulf and transform all resource substances collected by male insects, and extract energy from the engulfed substances. Incubation requirements. 300 basic energy points, 1 larva. Male insect. Zerg unit, combat power index. 20, function. A resource collection type of unit that can collect and transport all resources. Incubation requirements. 50 basic energy points, 1 larva. Velociraptor. Zerg unit, combat power index. 150 function. The initial melee unit of the Zerg tribe, with swift movements and sharp blade feet, fearless of death, they are the best cannon fodder. Incubation requirements. 100 basic energy points, 1 larva. Hydra. Zerg unit, combat power index. 150, function. The initial long-range unit of the Zerg, which moves slowly but can launch powerful bone spurs to attack enemies. Incubation requirements. 100 basic energy points, 1 larva. Name. Yihan, race. Human, position. Zerg dominator, realm. 3 layers during the refining period, early stage of gas refining, life. 17/150, combat power index. 50, qualification. Medium-grade beast spirit root, end of this chapter. Chapter 4. Light gold liquid, does it enhance qualification life effect? You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 5. Incubation of Services, First Collection of Resources. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 5 Incubation of Services, First Collection of Resources, Incubate a Transformation Pool. Hatch 2 male insects. Hatch a Velociraptor. In front of the main base of the Mother Nest, Yihan also issued an order to start incubating the listed Zerg troops in the Mother Nest base, and to build the first biological building transformation pool for Zerg transformation resources. Due to resource scarcity, Yihan prioritized the incubation of a transformation pool, consisting of 2 male insects and 1 Velociraptor. As for the prickly snake, there's no money left. The Mother Nest base is now in dire straits and can only wait for some energy to be collected before hatching the snake. Yihan looked forward to seeing the huge honeycomb-like Mother Nest base. He also waited quietly. The method of incubating these things in the main base of the Mother Nest is very unique. Yihan saw that as his command was given, there were also some greasy yellow-orange larvae crawling out from the entrance at the bottom of the hive-like base, resembling cicada pupae. They crawled out of the Mother Nest base all the way and then arrived at the mushroom blanket next to the Mother Nest base. The sticky larvae of yellow, orange, and orange, like cicada pupae, just came into contact with the purple fleshy mushroom blanket and were immediately absorbed by it. Subsequently, the surface of the purple fleshy mushroom blanket rapidly changed, like inflated balloons. Soon, huge blood and flesh bulges formed in the area where the larvae disappeared from the mushroom blanket. 3 Zerg branches, 1 Zerg biological building. At this moment, there are also 4 bulges on the purple flesh mushroom blanket. The bulge is still like breathing, 1 up, 1 down, 1 up, 1 down. With a breath-like beating, it keeps getting bigger. About a few tens of seconds later, the smallest 2 of the 4 flesh and blood bulges exploded with a crisp and juicy sound. 2 small crocodiles with short tails are huge, with huge claws on their mouths, flattened bodies, and more than 10 pairs of red and black beetles with armored sickle feet on their abdomen also appeared in front of Yihan. The first to hatch were 2 male insects. Is this a male insect? It's so big. Yihan looked at the size of the male insect in surprise. It was the first time he had seen such a big insect in his past life. Can this size easily eat a person's stomach? But soon, Yihan stopped paying attention to the size of the male insect. As a resource-gathering insect soldier, male insects are not good at combat, and their combat effectiveness index is only 20 points in the system evaluation. This combat effectiveness is definitely much stronger than ordinary people. Even in the world of mortal martial arts, it can be considered as a master's combat power among martial arts practitioners in the martial arts world. It can be placed in the cultivation world, it's really nothing. Yihan estimated. According to the system's evaluation, a cultivator in the 3rd level of the Qi refining period has a combat power index of 50 points. So a male insect with a combat power index of 20 points should only be considered a relatively strong level in the 1st level of the Qi refining period, right? On the contrary, it is a Velociraptor. The combat power index is as high as 150 points in the system evaluation. I am 3 times stronger than myself. This combat power index should be comparable to mid-cycle cultivators who have 4 or more levels of Qi refining, right? Yihan thought of Foam Lingzi. Anger and a cold light flashed away in his eyes. But soon, Yihan also suppressed his emotions. Foam Lingzi has 4 levels of cultivation during the Qi refining period. When he intercepted himself, he did not hide his cultivation aura. As a cultivator, Yihan can naturally distinguish and sense the cultivation level of Foam Lingzi. Revenge. When more rapid insects hatch, Yihan is ready to go out for revenge. That Foam Lingzi probably wouldn't easily give up the idea of killing himself. Maybe I'm waiting in the small shed where I live right now. Yihan is not in a hurry either. Now that he has a Zerg Mother Nest that can quickly strengthen himself, he can wait a little longer and wait until everything is safe before going out for revenge. A tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye. Just thinking about it. Wow. Wow. After 2 consecutive crisp and juicy sounds, the 2 high bulging flesh and blood bubbles remaining on the purple flesh and blood mushroom blanket also shattered. Hiss, there are ferocious insects and beasts that raise themselves to the sky and hiss. What a mighty bug. Is this the Velociraptor? Yihan's eyes lit up, and as he saw the beetle soldiers howling in the sky, he couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Following Yihan's gaze, I could only see a 6-legged slender insect soldier standing with a straight back on an empty purple fleshy mushroom blanket, covered in a hard and shiny shell with black spots on it. That's just standing there gives people an incredibly sharp feeling, like a bug soldier with a blade and sword tip. It has 6 sharp blade legs, with the last 4 blade legs supporting its body. The first 2 blade legs lift up like a human standing cobra, lifting 1/3 of its front body upright, revealing a pair of ferocious crimson eyes. He is 1.5 meters tall and 2.6 meters long. This body is already as large as a lion or tiger. Yihan saw the ferocious-looking Velociraptor's bloodshot eyes also staring at him. When his eyes touched, Yihan also saw obedience, submission, and flattery in the Velociraptor's bloodshot eyes. Just like a soldier in a pack of wolves seeing a wolf, there is no trace of bloody and ferocious domineering aura. Male insect, collect resources. Yihan's command was given. At the edge of the mother nest base, 2 flattened and low-lying male insects, resembling crocodiles, also arrived here. Although they have short legs and feet, their movement speed is not slow. Crawling through the bushes, rustling and rustling, as fast as an adult strong man. Even faster. Quickly crawling along the way, I also saw 2 male insects walking along the path, whether it was grass or bushes. All of them were cut off by the 2 ferocious and huge mouthparts in front of their bodies and heads, shoveled up, and swallowed into their stomachs. Even the towering ancient trees in the forest made a few bites, and the sturdy iron, wood, and wood of the towering ancient trees were cut off by the trunk that required several adult men to hug and embrace. They collapsed in the deafening sound and were devoured by 2 male insects. Their stomachs seemed like 2 small black holes. Massive shrubs, grass, and ancient tree trunks were swallowed by them, but they couldn't make their stomachs bulge much. Yihan looked at it in amazement. I don't understand the principle behind it. Just consider it as the black technology of the Zerg. Finally. After a period of time, the 2 male insects, like drunken men who had eaten their fill, finally wobbled back onto the purple fleshy mushroom blanket after devouring more than 10 large trees, as well as a large amount of shrubs and grass, and all the way back to the edge of the huge transformation pool near the mother nest base. The huge conversion pool has a length and width of up to 100 meters. Since the hatching of its flesh and blood vesicles exploded like juice, it has been expanding its body size on the purple flesh and blood mushroom blanket. 20 minutes later now, it has expanded to such a scale. Now, it is adjacent to the main base of the mother nest on one side, and the other layer is extending towards the side of the purple fleshy mushroom blanket, squeezing out a considerable amount of space on that side. There are also green ones in the huge conversion pool, emitting hot air and rippling with viscous bubbles of liquid. The liquid is slightly transparent, but the depth is dim. It's as if the bottom leads straight to a deep pool or cave, unfathomable. The 2 returning, big-bellied, male insects jumped into the conversion pool with a loud crash, only to see their high and bulging bellies quickly shrinking after entering the conversion pool. In just a moment, the bulging bellies of the 2 male insects disappeared. And Yihan also saw that on the visual data interface of the main base of the mother nest, the basic energy column finally began to increase in value. At the bottom of the interface, there are constantly numbers indicating +5 +5. The male insect has collected external substances and has entered the conversion pool to concentrate and convert them into standard basic energy units. Your mother nest base's energy storage has increased by 5 points of basic energy. The male insect has collected external substances and has entered the conversion pool to concentrate and convert them into standard basic energy units. Your mother nest base's energy storage has increased by 5 points of basic energy. The male insect has collected external substances and has entered the conversion pool to concentrate and convert them into standard basic energy units. Your mother nest base's energy storage has increased by 5 points of basic energy. The new book has been released. If you like it, can you please flip to the last chapter every day for me to follow up on? Follow-up reading is very important, it affects whether there are any recommendations. Please everyone. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. She Crystal. Try converting spirit stones. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. She Crystal. Try converting spirit stones. Although basic energy is called basic energy, it is not like ordinary energy such as electricity that was common before Yi Han's crossing. But rather an energy unit with a high energy level density. If the basic energy of each unit is converted to the electricity before the passing of Yi Han, it can supply a large area of modern city for consumption in a short period of time. Because of its high energy level, only a few hundred basic energy units can hatch powerful insect soldiers like the Velociraptor, which are comparable to the combat power of mid-stage cultivators in chi refining. At this moment, as the two male insects unload their inventory from the transformation pool, the inventory energy of Yi Han's mother nest main base is also growing slowly. Before long, the increase in basic energy inventory stopped at 50 points. Two male insects, back and forth for 30 minutes of collecting labor. Only brought 50 basic energy benefits. Yi Han frowned, the efficiency of collecting energy was slower than he had imagined. However, when it comes to the combination of male insects and transformation pools, which is only the initial energy absorption configuration of the first-level mother nest main base, Yi Han is no longer entangled. With the upgrading of the mother nest base, there will be more efficient energy harvesting technologies emerging in the future. By then, the energy harvesting efficiency will naturally be much improved compared to now. And if more male insects hatch out, the efficiency of the current energy harvesting method may not be too slow. Is it slow for two male insects to collect 50 basic energy points in 30 minutes? Then hatch 20. 200. Even 2000. Isn't the speed already fast? Hatching the third male insect. Yi Han thought of this and gave instructions to the main base of the mother nest, investing 50 points of basic energy that had just arrived but not yet heated up into production, to hatch the third male insect. Wow! After a moment, accompanied by a crisp burst of juice, another male insect hatched and joined the energy harvesting unit. And Yi Han came to the edge of the huge transformation pool, bubbling with bubbles, and he was pondering some questions. Yi Han flipped his hand. Silently, he took out a piece of ice blue hexagonal crystal from his arms. Transparent ice blue crystals with strange high-energy gas flowing inside. This is a spirit stone, a lower-grade spirit stone in standard form. Yi Han worked as a spiritual farmer in the shantytown of Baichunfang City for 4 years. Apart from daily cultivation expenses, his average surplus in a year was only a few inferior spiritual stones. Even because I had just spent a lot of money to break through the 3 levels of cultivation during the gas refining period a while ago, now I only have the stock of such an inferior spiritual stone left in my pocket. The poverty and suffering of the grassroots cultivators cannot serve outsiders. The male insect only collects ordinary trees and vegetation, and can convert 50 basic energy points in the conversion pool. As a hard currency for cultivators' daily cultivation, spirit stones contain extremely high energy inside. I wonder if they can be digested by the conversion pool. If possible, how much basic energy can a lower-grade spirit stone convert? Yihan looked down at the lower-grade spirit stone in his hand, emitting a sparkling blue light, and his eyes also flickered inexplicably. In the inheritance knowledge of the Zerg race, there exists a high-energy mineral called Shi crystal in the space home planet territory where the Zerg race is located. By collecting Shijing crystals to obtain energy, even a first-level Mother Nest base with only a few males can quickly obtain a large amount of basic energy, thus quickly incubating a large number of Zerg legions. The emerging rulers of the Zerg civilization, who had the Shi crystal veins as their initial source of funding, were not like themselves now, having to let the males collect ordinary trees and vegetation to convert and absorb energy. They are able to continuously upgrade and promote the main base of the Mother Nest in a very short period of time. Shijing Yihan doesn't have it, probably not in the entire cultivation world. But there are spirit stones in the cultivation world. Yihan believes that the characteristics of spirit stones are very similar to those of Shi crystals, both of which contain high-energy minerals inside. So Yihan took out his only inferior spirit stone and wanted to give it a try. Give it a try. Yihan hesitated for a moment when he thought of this, then endured heartache and threw the only inferior spirit stone in his hand into the transformation pool in front of him. With a splash, the inferior spirit stone shimmering with a light blue light entered the pool, causing some sticky bubbles in the transformation pool to shatter. In just a blink of an eye, the shadow of the inferior spirit stone could no longer be seen. How's it going? Yihan opened the interface of the Mother Nest base and stared fixedly at the energy reserve column. A lower-grade spirit stone is hard-won. If the basic energy cannot be converted, it is useless. Fortunately, soon there was movement on the interface of the Mother Nest base. Some prompt messages have appeared. Transform a lower-grade spirit stone, currently decomposing. Basic energy +10 +10 +10. As the inferior spiritual stone that Yihan invested in the transformation pool was decomposed, a large amount of information began to be displayed on the screen below the interface of the Mother Nest base. This process continues. 5 minutes later, the screen scrolling information stopped. Yihan was also pleasantly surprised and excited to see the energy reserve column of the main base of the Mother Nest, which had become 0.1000 basic energy points. A lower-grade spirit stone, convert 1,000 points of basic energy. The efficiency of energy acquisition is not comparable to the efficiency of male insects consuming ordinary trees and vegetation to convert energy. Difference is equivalent to a world. Hatch a Hydra. Hatch 18 male insects. Wow. 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 On the edge of the main base of the Mother Nest, with the order of Yihan, many high and bulging blood and flesh vesicles were quickly hatched, and the newly obtained 1,000 basic energy points were once again consumed completely. With the sound of constantly connected flesh and blood vesicles breaking, in just a moment, the male insect troops under Yihan's hands expanded to 20.1. The Velociraptor and the Hydra each have one. These two battle insect soldiers, hatched by Yihan, also need to test their combat power level. So I have a number in my heart. Roaming and rumbling at the edge of the purple fleshy mushroom blanket in the distance, towering ancient trees in the forest fell one after another, and 20.1 male insects quickly threw themselves into work. With their hard work, there will be over 500 basic energy points in 30 minutes. If the newly acquired basic energy is used to hatch male insects, under a virtuous cycle, Yihan can quickly stabilize the speed of his basic energy acquisition at a relatively high level. Not to mention it's faster than converting a large amount of spirit stones. At least the efficiency won't be as stifling as when there were only 2 male insects at the beginning. After such a wave of operations, it is estimated that by nightfall today, I will have a lot of energy surplus to produce and incubate some rapid insects and venomous snakes as my strength to settle down and survive. You too, come with me. Yihan gave orders to the Velociraptor, who was on standby like a well-behaved baby, as well as the similarly ferocious Hydra, which was covered in white bone armor. Its shape was very similar to that of a 2.5-meter-tall giant cobra. Two insect soldiers obediently followed Yi-Han. Before long, they arrived at the deep forest on one side, 1 kilometer away from the main base of the Mother Nest. Here, Yi-Han needs to test the combat capabilities of the two insect soldiers to see their strengths and weaknesses in combat. The new book has been released. If you like it, can you please flip to the last chapter every day for me to follow up on? Follow-up reading is very important, it affects whether there are any recommendations. Please everyone. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. The Power of the Velociraptor Snake. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 8. Flavors in Memory. The male insect army has greatly expanded. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 9. Future Development. U Dynasty. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Future Development. U Dynasty. 200 male insect troops, this is the result of Yi-Han rolling snowballs all night. At present, the energy inventory of the main base of the Mother Nest is still in deficit. All the energy collected overnight was used to hatch male insects. When the next wave of male insect troops returns, Yi-Han is ready to start incubating the army of velociraptors and venomous snakes. Due to a collection force consisting of 200 male insects, the materials they collect at regular intervals are enough to digest in the transformation pool next to the current first-level Mother Nest main base. The transformation pool hatched from the first-level Mother Nest main base is only the initial energy conversion biological building. It also has an upper limit on digestion. Moreover, a primary Mother Nest main base can also build a conversion pool as an energy harvesting interface. 200 male insects, collecting trees and vegetation every 30 minutes, can convert 5,000 basic energy points into 10,000 basic energy points in an hour. This is not bad for now. Yi-Han calculated that if converted to spirit stones, the basic energy output in 1 hour is equivalent to 10 inferior spirit stones. But when I think about it the other way around, Yi-Han touched his chin. If he comes from a major sect and is supported by spiritual stones from his sect for cultivation without lacking inferior spirit stones, it is easy to invest dozens or even hundreds of inferior spirit stones into the conversion pool, which can also be digested in a short period of time. The total amount of basic energy obtained per unit time will increase significantly. It's not as slow as digesting ordinary resources such as trees and vegetation, because the amount of these ordinary resources is too large. Extracting and converting energy from them naturally requires more time and effort. Let the male insects collect Shijing crystals, following the same principle as the newly born rulers of the Zerg Mother planet in the inheritance memory. Collecting minerals that already contain high energy can maximize the speed at which the Mother Nest's main base can acquire energy in the early stages. Sustle and bustle, the sound of insect joint collisions came, and Yi-Han left the command room and arrived outside the main base of his mother's nest. He also saw one after another male insects with big bellies, gathering abundant resources, crawling back to the ground like short-tailed crocodiles. Giant male insects quickly burrowed into a transformation pool that was hundreds of meters long and wide, swallowing and spitting out highly concentrated substances from collected trees and vegetation in their abdominal cavity. The male insect has collected resources and has decomposed them in the transformation pool, obtaining basic energy +5. The male insect has collected resources and has decomposed them in the transformation pool, obtaining basic energy +5. Male insects. Male insects. On the interface of the main base of the Mother Nest, familiar prompt messages also appear and swipe the screen. Yi-Han also saw in the energy reserve column that the basic energy reserve of the Mother Nest's main base is rapidly increasing. This wave has increased by over 1,000 basic energy points in just a few minutes. At this moment, the male insects in the transformation pool finally crawled out again. Not far away, the second batch of male insect collection troops had already returned, rubbing against the heels of the first batch of male insects who had left the transformation pool and entering the transformation pool. In the energy reserve column of the main base of the Mother Nest, the slightly stagnant basic energy numbers began to jump again, gradually increasing from 1,000 to 2,000. Next, let's focus on incubating velociraptors and venomous snakes. Hatching in a 2.1 ratio, for every 2 velociraptors hatched, 1 venomous snake must be hatched. After thinking for a moment, Yi Han gave this order to the Mother Nest's main base. Wow! Wow! Not long after this command was issued, some yellow, orange, and sticky larvae crawled out of the Mother Nest's main base and began hatching on the purple fleshy mushroom blanket. Before long, 8 velociraptors and 4 venomous snakes appeared on the open space. And on the main base of the Mother Nest, new larvae are still crawling out every moment. The number of velociraptors and venomous snakes will gradually hatch one by one as the reserve energy of the base increases. Not bad, not bad. Yi Han grinned, his teeth shining white, revealing a satisfied smile. From a high altitude, the entire insect nest space is busy. In the central area, a Mother Nest main base that is several tens of meters high has risen from the ground, and there are also large purple fleshy mushroom blankets covering and spreading hundreds of meters away. Clearing a large forest clearing. To the north of the main base of the Mother Nest, teams of male insects break up and devour vegetation and trees, pushing down towering ancient trees one by one, digesting them, and shoveling away the grass and shrubs. All of them are stored in the small biological space of abdominal black technology. After more than a day of gathering and gnawing, a small piece of the forest in the vast northern region has been gnawed away. If viewed from a high altitude, it is like a bumpy area in the forest that exposes the black soil, with no hair growing on it. Under destructive collection, if no other measures are taken. Even though the insect nest space is vast and the forest vegetation density is extremely high. But under such collection, it is likely to soon encounter the day when all the resources are collected. Yi Han is well aware of this matter. But for now, there is no need to manage it. In the early stages, there was a lack of energy. First, collect a wave to obtain enough capital to establish oneself. He doesn't spend his whole life in the insect nest space. What if all the trees and vegetation in the insect nest space are collected? It's not a big deal to start energy transportation from the outside and support the development of the Mother Nest main base within the insect nest space. If the outside world engages in energy transfer, ordinary resources cannot be used. At least we need to make inferior spirit stones. Small size, high energy. Convenient to hide. Yi Han came to one side of the forest, which was very cool, and there were no male insects collecting supplies, so it was also very quiet here. The scenery is quite pleasant. It can be considered a good place for meditation and practice. Although Yi Han obtained the mother nest of the Zerg tribe and was able to hatch insect soldiers for combat, he did not abandon his own cultivation because of this. Immortals still need to be cultivated. Not only because cultivating immortality can lead to longevity, but even immortality. Moreover, with advanced cultivation, it is easier to obtain a large amount of spiritual stone resources through normal means on the surface. Although the Zerg Legion is strong, it has not yet developed and is not completely invincible. If Yi Han's cultivation is low and he only relies on insect swarms to fight. The insect swarms, like mountains and seas, are exposed without any cover in front of the world. Just thinking about that scene makes Yi Han's scalp tingle. Not proud of the strength of the Zerg. But it feels dangerous. If I were really so reckless, I'm afraid I would soon attract righteous cultivators with terrifying cultivation to come and slay demons. The world of cultivators has its own set of operating rules that belong to them. Various major sects and families occupy the deep mountain spiritual veins, with many valuable resources and medicines. Even the dynasties that dominate the vast territory of the mortal world are managed by high-level cultivators and possess immense military power. For example, the city of Beichenfang where Yihan is currently located belongs to the Baijia family in Chuanshui. The Chuanshui Bai family was just a cultivator clan occupying one of the 20.4 prefectures within the territory of the Yu dynasty. The Chuanshui Bai family, who had the ancestors of the Jidan period, also had to submit to the Yu dynasty and assist the officials of the Yu dynasty in guarding and managing the entire Chuanshui prefecture. Brothers, please help to reach the last page and follow up on it. It's urgent. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Practice, Understanding the Changes in the Sea. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Practice, Understanding the Changes in the Sea. The Yu dynasty was very strong. The Chuanshui Bai family was only one of the 20.4 prefectures within the territory of the dynasty, and other 20.3 prefectures also had other noble families such as the Song family, Zhang family, and Li family, who were loyal to and guarding the cultivation of immortals. In the deep mountains, in some places with stronger spiritual veins, there are even stronger sects such as the Xiantian Sword sect, the Rift Wind Valley, and the Divine Talisman sect, which are more powerful than the cultivation aristocratic families of the Shuibai family in Jichuan, where the Jidan ancestor is stationed. However, these sectarian forces within the territory of the Yu dynasty also have intricate connections with the royal family of the Yu dynasty, which implies a subtle intention of paying homage to the Yu dynasty. Although it is not like the absolute superior-subordinate relationship of a normal courtier. But at least on the surface, it is subject to the legal management and command of the Yu dynasty. If the Yu dynasty encounters external wars and other conflicts, the forces of the Shuxian sect in the deep mountains must also be called upon by the dynasty to take action. And the reason why the Yu dynasty was so powerful, there are two conditions to rely on. The first point is rumored to be that in the capital of the Yu dynasty, there are no less than 5 Yuaningqi immortals sitting deep in the imperial palace of Yujing. There are even rumors of the existence of a god of transformation within the Yu dynasty. The second point is that the Yu dynasty had 3 supervisory departments, namely the demon slaying, demon eliminating, and prison suppressing, to oversee the entire world. The demon slaying department is specifically responsible for slaying the chaotic demon tribes within the Yu dynasty. Except for the demon division, specifically responsible for slaying the chaotic and demonic cultivators within the Yu dynasty. The prison control department is specifically responsible for detaining and judging key cultivators, as well as those who commit crimes beyond death. Every state capital within the territory of the Yu dynasty has set up 3 branch halls, with a large number of major foundations and even a small number of powerful alchemists stationed. It is enough to suppress the small demons who want to cause trouble throughout the entire Yu dynasty. Although my swarm of insects is easy to come by, in the end, the Velociraptor and the Hydra are only comparable to the combat power of cultivators in the middle stage of Qi cultivation. Yihan shook his head. Even if thousands of insect soldiers are hatched, if they are released casually and cause chaos on one side, they may quickly be executed by the Yu dynasty's demon slaying and demon eliminating departments. Keep a low profile, still act in a low-key manner. Although the insect army is strong, it can only exist as my trump card in life and death struggles. Yihan pondered and decided not to release a bunch of insect soldiers too high profile when walking outside, as it would be too eye-catching. Fortunately, Yihan is not the kind of high profile and reckless person. He can withstand his temper. Build high walls and slowly proclaim oneself king. I also have no intention of releasing insect soldiers to disrupt innocent civilians. After all, he is not some kind of demon or abnormal person, let alone practicing those demon blood sacrifice techniques. The basic 3 views, Yihan believes, are still normal. I don't know how to deal with the Zerg. With just a little bit of power, I will fight and kill all over the world. Practice it. My spiritual root has been upgraded to medium level, and I don't know how effective it is to cultivate medium-level beast spiritual roots, Yi-Han thought with some anticipation. He also found a large gray stone in the forest and sat down, then began to operate the Changchun Ju, to carry out daily routine martial arts cultivation. Buzzing Yi-Han looked inwardly, carrying the Dantian magic within his body, and also following the path of Changchun Ju's martial arts to move the great Zhou Tian within his body. Outside the body, green dots of light that are invisible to ordinary people appear. These are the scattered spiritual energy between heaven and earth. Only cultivators with spiritual roots can sense spiritual energy, and similarly, only cultivators can use their thoughts to drag the unowned spiritual energy between heaven and earth into their bodies, allowing the spiritual energy to wash away their physical bodies and refine these external spiritual energies into magic. When Yi-Han saw the densely packed green spiritual energy dots around him, he was momentarily taken aback, and then his face also lit up with joy. How dense is the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the insect nest space? Yi-Han was surprised. This is the same as the concentration of heaven and earth spiritual energy in the first-level spiritual pulse. First-order spiritual pulse. Baichunfang City is built on a first-order spiritual vein. It is precisely with the support of the first-level spiritual pulse that the spiritual energy in Baichunfang City is filled. Even the large formation that covers the entire Baichunfang City is usually naturally extracted from the underground spiritual pulse to maintain, without the need for additional spiritual stones to maintain daily operations. If practicing meditation within the first-level spiritual meridian, it is rumored to greatly enhance the cultivation speed of cultivators during the Qi cultivation period. Like a shantytown where Yi-Han lives. Although there is a spiritual gathering array arranged by the Bai family in Chuanshui, and it is adjacent to the first-level spiritual pulse of Baichunfang City, the spiritual energy in the shantytown area is still far less strong than that of Baichunfang City. In terms of conversion, relying on the first-level spiritual pulse cultivation in Baichunfang City may be equivalent to the efficiency of 2 days of cultivation in a shantytown in a day. There are also caves for rent in Baichunfang City for cultivators to practice. But the fees are very expensive. The cost of renting the cave for a month is at least 30 pieces of inferior spirit stones. This is a price that Yi-Han could never afford to rent before. Don't mention 30 inferior spirit stones. Even with 3 inferior spirit stones, he couldn't have rented such an expensive cave to cultivate as a spirit farmer before. The spiritual rice planted by Lingnong for a year was sold, except for the 50% tax paid to the Bai family in Chuanshui. The part he left behind was sold, and he only managed to sustain the income of 10 lower-grade spiritual stones throughout the year, even less than that in many cases. What kind of extravagant behavior is renting a cave? It's not enough to spend this little spiritual stone even if you occasionally take some inferior pills. It's simply impossible to rent. I didn't expect the spiritual energy in the insect nest space to be so strong. Without the spirit gathering array, it constantly gathers and stirs the spiritual energy, and without cultivation, it's not even noticeable. Now that I'm practicing, so many spiritual energy points converge, it's definitely a first-order spiritual pulse. It's just that without the support of the gathering spirit formation, the cultivation effect is still inferior to those specialized caves inside Baichunfang City. It's about 1.5 times more efficient than practicing in a shantytown. Yi-Han estimated after a little practice that the rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the insect nest space would benefit him. 1.5 times is also good. In the future, if there is a chance, we need to see if we can learn the point formation and see if we can set up a spirit gathering array here. While practicing, Yi-Han also fantasized about the future. He can only learn formations by himself. As for having other mages set up formations in the insect nest space, that is absolutely impossible. Clatter 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 clatter. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth stirred, and each green spiritual energy spot was enveloped by Yihan's thoughts, like swallowing a chia seed in a drink in a cup, swallowing and absorbing many unowned spiritual energy spots into the body, blending into one's own flesh and blood. Spiritual energy is washing away blood and flesh, slowly strengthening the body. At the same time, the magic in the elixir field is condensed into a vortex, grinding and crushing the spiritual energy that is continuously transported into the body like a grinding disk of heaven and earth. The light spots of those spiritual energy are ground, refined, and finally assimilated into Yihan's own magic, imprinted with his soul imprint. Suddenly, there seemed to be an extremely small breeze blowing through the sea of consciousness, and a subtle change appeared that was extremely difficult to detect. Yihan's face changed. He, who was highly focused on his cultivation, immediately sensed this sudden change. Just now, I swallowed the external spiritual energy and the speed of refining magic seemed to have suddenly increased by a very small amount. Yihan frowned, his face showing a look of doubt. Moreover, the soul power in the sea of consciousness seems to have increased, making it difficult to detect any trace. What is the situation? Brothers, please help to reach the last page and follow up on it. It's urgent. End of this chapter.